How's it going, Lost Star Gamers? Today's video will go over Thaemine Gate 3. I plan on releasing this much sooner, but with Tier 4 being launched, I've been having so much fun that I ultimately forgot about it. So sorry about that. I hope y'all can forgive me. This guy took me a long time to make, so if you enjoy it, feel free to smash that like button. And I hope everyone is having a blast with Tier 4 launch as much as I am. I'm really enjoying it. Speedrunning through these raids with the Hyper Awakening and T-Skill is just so much fun. But yeah, enough yapping, let's go ahead and get into the video. Thaemine Gate 3 is considered to be one of the hardest fights for many people. This is because, unlike other raids, death by gravity and death by normal attacks are the most errors people make. The major mechanics are fairly simple and easy to understand. The way I will format this video is breaking down the major mechanics, then I will explain most important attacks and gimmicks. Before we get into that, the battle items you want to bring along for Gate 3 will be Dark Grenade, Time Stop, and Sacred Charm. If you do not want to rely on Time Stop, you could bring Atropine, but if you're progging, I recommend Time Stop. In addition, both support players at minimum should bring Time Stop because of a certain attack that they could soak for the entire raid. At the start of the fight, a red telegraph will be shown that is nearly map wide. Move to the very edge and wait for it to explode. Then look at Thaemine in the back to see which arm he is raising. This indicates which side you need to go to. If his left arm is raised, you will go to the left side. If his right arm is raised, you will go to the right side. Walk down and stay off to the side and wait for the explosions that will occur momentarily. After that, move towards the sword in the middle and proceed to finish the stagger check. The sword does not take reduced damage here, so use your main burst rotation. There will be some telegraphs you will have to dodge. Some of them will give you a critical debuff, in addition to other attacks throughout the fight. This critical debuff increases the damage you take by 20% per stack and has a 2-minute duration. Once you complete the stagger check on the sword, a cutscene will occur, then you will finally fight Thaemine. He will always start off with teleporting behind someone and performing a slash attack in front. Never get hit by this attack. Treat it as instant death. You will see this teleport to front slash attack occur many times throughout the fight. Before we get into the first major mechanic, let me discuss a major gimmick that will occur throughout the entire fight. Thaemine will periodically summon a blue orb in front of him, then disappear. Afterwards, he will teleport behind a random player and do a front slash attack, then rotate 180 or 270 degrees and slam the ground twice. This slam attack knocks you back pretty far and can be a common death by gravity when you get to the stage break portion of the fight. To avoid the slam, after he does a front slash, try to position yourself where he did that slash, as he will never do a slam in that direction. He will only rotate 180 or 270. In addition, when he summons a blue orb and teleports away, a random player will get a blue sword icon above their head. After a few seconds, a shadow clone will drop on the ground wherever they are standing. This should be brought to the edge of the map, but do not stack them with other shadow clones. Spreading them out is ideal. In normal mode, only one player will get a shadow clone every time Thaemine does this gimmick. In hard mode, it will be 2 players every time. This number will increase later on in the fight. The first time this gimmick occurs, it is simply dropping the shadow clones at the edge of the map. But every other time he does this, every shadow clone on the map will spawn red line telegraphs that you must dodge. These telegraphs do a ton of damage and will give you a critical debuff. You can see where the clones are located by looking at your minimap. The first major mechanic happens at 275 HP lines or below. Thaemine will teleport to the middle and start walking. You will need to go to the middle as outside is not safe. After 5 steps, he will levitate in the air and show a dark circle coming from him that is moving outwards. You have to spacebar through this. If you do not spacebar through this, you will get a darkness debuff that cannot be cleansed and lasts a long time. With this darkness debuff, you cannot see red telegraphs. After you spacebar through the dark circle, Thaemine will quickly show red telegraphs with safe spots that you must memorize. The red telegraphs do a ton of damage, and every hit gives you a critical debuff. If you cannot memorize the entire sequence, you can use a time stop potion. Support DR and shield can also help if you were to get hit by 1 or 2 of the telegraphs. In hard mode, this mechanic is slightly different. One random player will get a large blue circle around him. We call this the Dark Seed. There will also be a bar above their head. When this bar fills up, the Dark Seed will explode, knocking back anyone inside the circle. So this random player needs to position themselves in a way where they are not near any players when the last telegraph occurs. During progging, the Dark Seed player may need to time stop during this mechanic, as getting to the proper safe spot and also being away from other members may be a bit difficult. The second major mechanic happens at 255 HP lines or below. Thaemine will stand still and have a shield around him taking reduced damage. Then he will vanish and you will need to move to the middle of the map. A map-wide telegraph will occur where only middle is safe. Afterwards, a sword will drop down in the middle and showcase red and blue telegraphs. The blue telegraph will aggro on a random player. Try to keep this as steady as you can if you are aggroed. If you move around too much, other players may get hit. After 2 blue pizza telegraphs, the last blue telegraph is a half circle. My tip is to stand close to the sword so that you can easily move out. Another alternative is using time stop potion. Supports need to awaken at the start of this mechanic right when the sword lands. And use shield and DR if you notice a targeted player is about to get hit. The red telegraphs will explode last, so everyone should simply ignore them until after the blue half-circle telegraph occurs. After all these attacks, the sword will rush to the targeted player towards the edge of the map. It is ideal if the sword is baited towards 7 to 9 o'clock, but it does not really matter. Your camera will zoom out, and you will need to focus on damaging the sword until it hits 0 HP lines. During this phase, Thaemine will periodically perform the gimmick where he spawns shadow clones on random players. Placing them near or on top of the sword is fine, as long as you are not stacking with other shadow clones. However, this phase needs to end as soon as possible because if you have a ton of shadow clones on the map, the red telegraphs they spawn throughout the fight will hinder you. In addition, Thaemine would target a random player and shoot a laser after a moment, or spawn a red sword that follows that player. Both of these attacks do a lot of damage. The red sword will explode if kited out long enough. If it explodes on a player, that player will receive a critical debuff. The sword you're fighting will perform various attacks. After every 3 to 4 attacks, the sword will always follow up with a counterattack. If countered, the sword will be on the ground and show a stagger bar with the ring-safe red telegraph. If you successfully stagger the sword, the telegraph will not go off, and you will gain a good window to deal damage. The first stagger check is pretty easy to complete, but every other stagger check afterwards is more difficult. In hard mode, the only difference with this mechanic is that a tether will periodically rotate around the map. The tether does a bit of damage, so supports need to identify this and shield or DR players if they're about to get hit. Failing counters on the sword will cause the sword to follow up with unique attacks, some of which give a critical debuff. As stated previously, the goal of this phase is to kill the sword as quickly as you can. After 3 attacks, players should be prepping for a counter. After this mechanic is finished, you'll be fighting Thaemine again. At 225 HP lines or below, the next mechanic will occur. The boss will teleport to the middle and a dialogue box will be shown. The boss will spawn a darkness wave coming from him that will start moving out. You have to spacebar through this. This darkness debuff cannot be cleansed. I recommend standing away from the boss when he moves to the middle, then spacebar through the dark wave. The boss will showcase red telegraphs with a few safe spots, but the safe spots will start to turn into red telegraphs one by one until only a few safe spots remain. You will need to be patient and wait a few seconds before deciding on a safe spot. I recommend standing near the boss while you're waiting. If you cannot spacebar through the dark circle, follow your fellow teammate so that you know where to go. In hard mode, the only difference with this mechanic is that one player will get a dark seed, just like the 275 mechanic. This player needs to go to their own safe spot. Usually, the dark seed player will go top side of the map, with everyone else being at the bottom side. After the cutscene, the boss will attack all areas of the map that were not safe. If you cannot make it to a safe spot, you will die. At 210 HP lines or below, the next mechanic and cutscene will occur. After the cutscene, the boss will ride on his horse and move to the edge of the map. He will then ride along the edge of the map, then eventually charge to the middle. Before he moves to the middle, he will perform a slash attack where back is safe. You need to follow the boss while staying behind him. When the boss gets to the middle, one player needs to press G in front of the boss and complete a clash mechanic. We call this Clash 1. Clash 1 consists of 3 buttons in total that you need to press. As of recently, this has been nerfed and is easier to react to. Before you enter Gate 3, I highly recommend you practice each clash in Trixion. Once you do a clash, you cannot do any other clash throughout the rest of the fight. This clash mechanic is similar to games like Osu. You need to press the correct key on your keyboard at the right time. There is perfect, good, and bad. Bad is when you miss the timing completely, and if you get a bad, you will most likely die. If you get a good, it will shorten the clash mechanic, allowing DPS on the outside to have less time to DPS the boss. If you fail to pick up the clash, you will do a lot of annoying patterns. Once you finish the first clash, the boss will teleport to the middle of the map and spawn a clone of himself that will dash around the map. This is when you will use the Anana Sidereal. Supports need to awaken when the boss moves to the middle. Sidereal Anana will reduce the damage of the clones, but it does not negate the damage completely, which is why supports have to awaken. Thaemine will aggro to a random player and stab that player a few times. If you are not a back attacker, position yourself in the front of the boss when he moves to the middle. If you get aggro on the boss, do not rotate the boss. This is annoying as hell for back attackers. The goal of this phase is to burn down the massive shield that is on the boss in a certain amount of time. This is why it's important that Clash 1 does not fail and try their best to get perfects. Once the attack is finished, Thaemine will dash away and reappear in the middle. Another clash will appear in front of the boss when he stops moving. We call this the second clash. He will rotate himself before the clash occurs, so pay attention to when he stops moving. Right in front of that position is where the second clash will be. By the time the second clash is complete, the DPS check should be finished. If you run out of time, it will be a raid wipe. During Clash 1, Clash 2, and Inanna, players should be throwing dark grenades to push damage. When you succeed the DPS check, you'll be brought to the second phase of the fight. During this phase, it is possible to die by gravity, so you need to be careful. Be mindful that your spacebar is a form of push immunity. Abuse it to prevent knockback. At the start of this phase, Thaemine will always appear in the middle and start off with an attack where he throws his sword in front and behind him. This attack does not do a lot of damage. Every 40 to 50 seconds on the enraged timer, the boss will teleport to the edge of the map and perform a clash. The next clash to occur will be the third clash. The boss will teleport to the edge of the map, and half the map will be a yellow telegraph. Thaemine will attempt to destroy half the map. A player needs to pick up this third clash. It will be near the middle of the map. This clash consists of 2 buttons in total. If you fail this clash, Thaemine will destroy half the map and you will die. After this clash, the boss will teleport to the edge of the map again after 40 to 50 seconds and attempt to do the same attack again. However, this attack is not clashable. Everyone will need to move away from the boss as he will destroy half the map. Once he destroys half the map, the boss will always follow up with the same attack as the start of the phase, where he throws his sword in front and behind him. After another 40 to 50 seconds, Thaemine will again teleport to the edge of the map and attempt to break another portion of the map. This is clashable, but at this point, most people use the hidden Nineveh Sidereal here. She will perform the clash for you and do 25 HP lines of damage, giving everyone a good window to deal damage. Your goal at this point is to get the boss down to 90 HP lines to trigger the next phase. When you get the boss down to 90 HP lines, you'll be brought to what we call basement. The map will be fresh at this point and all previous shadow clones will disappear. At this point, multiple people will get a sword above their head every time Thaemine does the shadow clone attack. You need to stack these shadow clones on the outside of the map. During this phase, there will be a dark fog that slowly moves in. This will hinder your battle space. Standing in this fog will do heavy tick damage and give you a darkness debuff. At 55 HP lines or below, the next mechanic will occur. After the cutscene, you will need to perform a typing test. In hard mode, this typing test will consist of letters that are upside down. Once you finish a typing test, your movement will be inverted. You will need to click opposite of where you want your character to go. This mechanic is identical to the 225 mechanic except your movement is inverted. In hard mode, one player will get a dark seed, just like the 275 and 225 mechanic. When you go to your save spot and Thaemine does a map-wide attack, every player will be brought to a separate dimension where they have to fight a clone of themselves. You need to kill your clone in time, otherwise you will die. When you're fighting your clone, your movement is still inverted. One major DPS skill should be enough to kill your clone. For supports, you will want to use your awakening. If you knock your clone into the fog on the outside of the map, that will kill it as well. When you kill your clone, you'll be brought back to the outside. Thaemine will have a shield that reduces the damage he takes, but you should still be pushing damage here. After a moment, he will follow up with an alternating red telegraph attack. From this point on, the dark fog will start from the middle of the map and slowly move out. Again, this dark fog does heavy tick damage and will give you a darkness debuff, so pushing DPS is very important. At 42 HP lines or below, the boss will perform the last clash. On normal mode, it is recommended to use Wei during this clash to push damage. On hard mode, ghosts will spawn that will attempt to grab players and drop them to the middle of the map. Ghosts will spawn in 50 seconds after the 55 mechanic is complete. The ghosts will appear as yellow telegraphs, so try not to get grabbed and always be aware that they are coming. You can use the Wei Sidereal when the ghosts spawn. At this point, there are no more major mechanics, and you need to burn the boss down to 0 HP lines to end the fight. Now we will discuss Thaemine's identity gauge and other important attacks. At the top left of your screen, you will see Thaemine's identity gauge, sectioned into 5 bars total. Every time a bar fills up, the boss will perform a special red attack noted by red telegraphs. When his identity is full, the boss will teleport to the center, blind all players, while performing 2 red attacks in total. You will need to memorize all red attacks because when his identity is full, you will not be able to see any telegraphs. Every red attack has 2 variations, normal and enhanced. At certain parts of the fight, his red attacks become enhanced. I will discuss the red attacks now, then explain when they become enhanced. Cube. The normal version of this attack consists of Thaemine showing a red and white aura around him. He will stand still and his sword will hover in front of him, then the sword will slash to his right side. This will be showcased via a red telegraph. Directly behind the boss, and the left side will be safe. The enhanced version of this attack will still show the red and white aura, but Thaemine will hold his sword and slash in front. Behind the boss will be safe. Cross Ring. The boss will stand still, and his sword will be hovering in front of him, pointing horizontally. The normal version of this attack consists of 2 ring telegraphs. Between the 2 rings is safe. The enhanced version of this attack will showcase the same animation, but it will be a piece of telegraph instead. The safe spots will be X3 positioned from the boss. Top, bottom, left, or right side. Pizza. The boss will levitate in the air and lift up his sword. A pizza telegraph will be shown, and he will attack twice. For the normal variation, you simply need to stand still in one of the safe spots for both attacks. For the enhanced version, you need to go to one of the safe spots for the first attack, and for the second attack, you need to move back to the area that was not safe. Basically, the safe spots will alternate, so move left or right after the first attack. This is the most difficult red attack to dodge when Thaemine's identity gauge is full. If you want an easy way to dodge this while blinded, go to 11 o'clock from the boss's position or top left of his back attack indicator. And if it's enhanced, you have to alternate. As you may notice, all of his red attacks are back safe, and there are only 3 of them with 2 different variations. You will need to remember Thaemine's animation during these attacks so that you could dodge them while blinded when his identity is full. There is one more red attack that only occurs in hard mode. We call this Pacman. The boss will casually hold his sword and show a red lightning aura around him. For the normal version of this attack, the boss will slash at his back, showcasing a Pacman telegraph. Front of the boss will be safe. Then he will follow up with a map-wide attack, where inside is safe. For the enhanced version, the boss will still slash behind him for the start of this attack, where front is safe. But for the follow-up, outside is going to be safe, and the telegraph is quite large, so get as far away as you can. From the start of the fight until the 255 mechanic, every red attack will be normal. After the 255 mechanic, every red attack is enhanced. Once stage break occurs, where Thaemine splits the map in half, every red attack will go back to normal. And then from 90 HP lines to 0, red attacks will go back to being enhanced. You have to treat these red attacks as instant death. Getting hit by them will kill you without care from support or time stop potion. Now I will go over some attack patterns that I believe are the most dangerous. Virgil. The boss will aggro to a random player, dash back to front, and do a ton of slashes in front. Then the aggro will change to another player and perform the same attack again. Afterwards, he will dash back and fire black sword slashes to the aggroed player. This attack does a lot of damage. Black Orb. The boss will raise up his hand holding a black orb. After a few moments, the black orb will fire in front, then disperse in many directions. Then he will teleport behind a random player and slash a bunch of times. If you are hit by these orbs, you'll be feared for a long time. Support or DPS should stand in front of the boss and time stop to soak all the orbs. If no one stands in front of the boss and uses time stop potion for this attack, it is likely that you'll get feared as it is hard to dodge. Slash to grab attack. The boss will slash twice in front of him, then grab any player standing behind him, then knock them back to his left side. Front of the boss or right side is safe for this attack. This attack is very dangerous as it can knock you off the map. Dark Stomp. Thaemine will stomp the ground with the darkness wave coming from him that is moving out. If you are hit by the darkness wave, you will get a darkness debuff that can be cleansed. If you use a paralysis skill or spacebar through the darkness wave, you will not get the debuff. When Thaemine is in his enhanced state, the stomp will have a follow-up attack where he will slam the ground and knock back any nearby players. You can get hit by the darkness wave on purpose, then spacebar the slam so that you don't get knocked back. Red Ring Attack. The boss will stand still and hold his sword, pointing towards the ground. You will see multiple red telegraphs. Then he will slam the ground, knocking back players very far. This attack is very dangerous as it can cause you to die by gravity. The red telegraphs that occur at the start of this attack have a safe spot, which is the third ring. What I typically do is stand next to the boss and spacebar right when he slams the ground so that I don't get knocked back. Backstep Grab. The boss will step back and spawn a dark clone of himself in front of him, attempting to grab anyone that is in front. If anyone is grabbed, an AoE attack will occur afterwards, knocking back the grabbed player. This is a common death by gravity. The last attack I will discuss only happens during the last phase. Thaemine will stand still for a bit and charge up his sword. Then he will teleport behind a random player and proceed to slam the ground. This attack will kill you without care from support or time stop potion. When you identify this attack, everyone needs to gather up, so that when the boss reappears, everyone can easily move out to avoid damage. And that will conclude the guide for Thaemine Gate 3. This is one of my favorite fights in the entire game, and once you learn it, I'm sure it'll become one of your favorite raids as well. I'm gonna try my best to get caught up with the next few raids. Work has not been that busy lately, so y'all should see some uploads within the next week or two. But yeah, I will see y'all again in the next video. Peace.